Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I have a special guest today named Jordan, and Jordan's pretty much literally across the world from me right now. We had a devil of a time figuring out the time zone thing. As we mentioned, he's in the future right now. So here in Edmonton, it's August 30th or 31st rather, 6 p.m. and it's 8 a.m. in Bali. Is that correct, my friend?
Yes, it is.
And you're September 1st, so yeah, you're time jumping on me here. So awesome. I'm going to start with Bali because we started our conversation obviously before we hit record here, and yeah, lots in common. So I'm looking forward to this. Before we do, I wanted to get into Bali because you've been there a few days. You've been compelled to go there for a while, and Bali's one of these things that keeps showing up in like my emails, and it's definitely calling me at this point. I'm getting those universal taps on the shoulder, so I'm really
Oh,
curious to see just like what your experience has been. Tell me a little bit about it.
right out the gate when I got here, everybody was immediately friendly, like friendly. A very different contrast from how it is back in the States. But yeah, my host at the place that I'm staying drove an hour to pick me up at midnight, and I still didn't get out of the airport until 1 a.m.
Wow.
It cost me $4 for that little trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, the money,
Unreal.
the geo arbitrage is like crazy.
Yeah.
But
Right.
and then we got in the car, we started having this friendly conversation, and pretty much 80% of the drive back was just about how uh life is this grand spiritual journey, and you got to feed your soul like you feed your body. And this is the conversation this guy is like, bringing me through on the ride like this is my introduction, and I'm like,
Wow.
wow, this is just how it is. And ever since then, everywhere I walk and everywhere I go, it's a very um prevalent spiritual practices is in everything they do, and it's just amazing.
That's wonderful. I could tell, yeah, you got the big smile on your face. Normally where there could be some jet lag and everything, but you just already seem refreshed and just ready to go. Tell us a little bit about like where you're staying. You said a boot, which is a fantastic name, by the way. Sounds like Canadian. A boot. How about that?
A
Yeah,
boot.
boot. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's spelled like UBUD.
Oh, even better. I like that.
A
Oh, boot.
boot.
Oh, boot. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah, it's more inland. It's kind of like a hub,
Okay.
and there's this I've done a lot of traveling, and so it kind of reminds me of Iquitos, but in Peru, but like way nicer, way cleaner. They're burning incense everywhere. There's like they decorate these flower offering things all over the place. There's like a gazillion places to eat and do things, get massages, and just like all this stuff, and all the yogas you could possibly ever want.
Amazing. I love that. You're saying that it's like all temples too, right? Or is something along those lines? Like all the buildings are like super old and just beautifully, constructed and such too, right?
Yeah, they're this intricate architecture of temples, temple compounds, like everything has these details to it. A lot of like I see a lot of Ganesh,
Mm,
elephant god, meeting you at the door to get into their compound. It's just like but the detail of it is what gets you. You're not accustomed to this. And then when you're in it, you're like, wow, this is like all art, all of it.
yeah, just living in an art project basically, right? By the sounds of it.
Yes, yes.
So what has that done to your like yeah, spiritual level, your feel, your emotions, your just like your energy? Like how would you describe it right now if you were to do a check-in?
Zen,
Yeah.
Zen.
I like it.
You look at
I'm
you
on my
look at
way.
people,
Yeah. Yeah.
you look at people and they look at you, and in their eyes is hi, nice to see you,
Nice. Instead of like
and
a
that's normal.
wow,
Yeah.
instead of this avoidance or like almost disdain that can show up in certain other countries, shall we say?
Yeah. I mean, even if you look in their general vicinity, they're going to say hi to you. They're like,
Wow.
hey, hello, hello,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
hello.
They're like waiting for it. Interesting, man.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's so cool. So how long are you there? What is your intentions for the trip? Do you have specific events, or are you just kind of taking everything in?
Uh, Could be a year, could be two, could be more. I don't
Oh,
know.
wow. I
Yeah,
love it.
I came
Open-ended.
here. Yeah, I came here to develop my business and to um, start playing music. I just want to get into it. All the creative stuff.
Love it, man.
Completely opposite to my old life.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it. There's so much to talk about with you here. Like, let's start with the old life. So, we've got a snapshot of what you're doing right now. Very pivotal time in your life. The first couple days of the rest of your life, literally, we've captured this right here on this interview, which is super rad. So
Yeah,
going
very.
back, yeah. So going back in time, like what was Jordan's life like? Like early adulthood, even as far back as you care to go to paint the picture for us.
Well, young man version was I went out to I started back in home. I'm from Buffalo, and I got into theater, and then I went to LA to be, an actor.
Yeah.
And I did that for a while, acting, and then I was also a stuntman. I was Robin in Batman Robin's stunt show over at Six Flags. I did a lot of
No
crazy things.
way. That's
Yeah,
amazing. That's so cool.
my my biggest claim to fame was like a couple of minutes sitting next to Patrick Dempsey on what was that? Grey's Anatomy.
Wow.
Yeah, that was funny.
Hey, it's a pretty good claim to fame.
But after a while of being in the business, it didn't quite. I started to not like the way that operated, and I didn't like the way I felt as though I was giving my power to everyone else. So after a while, I backed out of it and then began an adventure of trying to figure out who am I? Because at that time, I identified who I was with being an actor, and it didn't it to completely deconstruct that and then like try to find my way is kind of where the adventure began. I didn't know what I was getting myself into later down the line, but that brought me back home. I went back to school for hospitality and tourism uh, degree. And I finished it in Spain. So I lived in Madrid for a little bit.
Nice.
Came back. My girlfriend broke up with me for 2 years. I thought I was going to marry her.
Oh,
And
wow.
after, I don't know if like everybody understands heartbreak, but after a while, it just didn't feel normal to just be so constantly depressed and things. So I did what any other sane guy would do in that situation. I became an entrepreneur.
Of course, right? Yes, of course.
What do I do with
Right?
this?
Yeah, what are your thoughts? Yeah, yeah. Well, so what age were you at that stage where you're like, okay, this acting thing and this stuntman, I'm gonna pull the plug on this and
Those were
commit.
like my early to mid 20s. And
Okay,
then I went back to school when I was 30 to finish my 4-year degree. So that was
good
kind
for
of
you, man.
interesting.
Yeah,
And
I'll bet.
then after I came back and I was managing this hotel and I was just like, I don't want to do this. This doesn't feel right either. If it was interesting to start following the feelings of things.
Yes, sounds like a recurring theme for you. Yeah. So yeah, let's get into the feelings, man. What did that feel like? What does that show up as? Like when you're like, I don't know if this is what was it like a sense of dread? Like how would you articulate what you were feeling in that time?
Yeah, completely unsatisfied.
Mm,
Like I felt behind the eight ball
yeah.
always.
Yeah.
And everything that I thought I wanted to do just kept not working out. And
Mm,
so I I made a shift in what if I do things that I feel are more aligned with who I am? And okay, this sounds funny, but I became a taxi driver. I bought a minivan. I became an owner operator taxi driver um, in Buffalo. It wasn't what I thought I would ever do. My whole family was like, again, like my whole family was just like, no, no, what are you doing? You're college educated. You've done all these amazing things back in California. You got a great job, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, no, I got to do something different. And I do like driving, and I do like socializing with people. And I was just like, that could work.
right.
And I I thought about it before. I remember when I used to get picked up by a taxi driver from the airport whenever I would travel. And I just thought, this guy's got a cool job. All he does is just drive people around. He's like a movie bartender, and it's on
Sure.
his
Yeah,
terms.
yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I researched it and got in. It, it was good for me. I started making some pretty good money. And like 6 months after that, I bought my first investment property, which was a triplex.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I transformed it, and that was in Niagara Falls. I transformed the first floor, I transformed that 3 unit into a 4 unit. And then the first floor, I thought, hey, I know how to run hotels. And when I was in Spain and I did all these, or Europe, and I was traveling around, and it was like hostels and bed and breakfast. And I remember I told everybody, I was like, I think I want to do this B&B thing. And then I pulled back that old dream
Yes.
and I made it happen. And okay, we're kind of getting into it now. So the I started with that property, and then I kind of failed a little bit. Like I was doing good, but I
Right.
got noticed by the city. I didn't have a
Ah,
permit.
gotcha.
I thought I read the laws right. I didn't realize the city had their own codes, and I was very green in it. So instead of just like throwing in the towel, I was like, okay, if you let me ride this out, I will go and buy another house, and I'll be the gleaming example of bed and breakfast in the city. And they're like, yeah, sure. So I did just that. I rode out that season. I bought another property, and that began one of the hardest things I have ever done in my life at that time. The city fought me for all the permits to even get going on it. Not
Mm,
even like get the operating one, but just to even construct it into it, it was a
wow.
fight. My
Interesting.
neighbors fought me.
Huh.
I had to go to court like 2 times for um, a contractor that took my money and didn't do the work,
Oh,
and another
wow.
one for a tenant that had it evict and he wanted to, take me to small claims. So I've never done that before, but it was just okay. All these things started happening, and the time frame kept getting delayed, and then I became massively over budget. I lost all of my friends. I broke up with my girlfriend. My grandpa died. Like all of these things happened during that time, and every bit of the journey of that bed and breakfast was like you can quit at any moment, and nobody would blame you for this. But I believed in me, and I believed in what I was doing, and that was the only way that actually like finished, became a thing. I got my permit, and it took off.
Wow.
And that was like
Interesting.
a crazy journey to go through.
Yeah.
So immediately after that, I was like, okay, I got my friends, please, just it was like Labor Day weekend. I'm like, could you watch this over? I really need a break. And they're like, yeah, yeah, sure. And there was a girl I met a year ago in New York City on Halloween, and I just reached out to her and said, hey, I want to do something fun. She's like, great, because there's this camping festival happening at the tail end of Long Island. I'm like, okay, great, I'll go. I don't know anybody. I only met that girl once, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I got in the car and I'm driving to go to this camping festival. It was like a couch surfing event.
Nice.
Um, and on the drive there, for the first time in my life, this this huge feeling of love was just emanating from my heart. I I finally felt for the first time love from the inside out. Because
Mm.
prior to that, I sought outwardly for love all the time. I never redirected it
Mm.
inwardly before. And finishing that bed and breakfast was like probably the greatest um, believing in self, believing in myself thing that I've ever done, which was like which for me would have been the greatest act of self love I've ever done. And in doing so, like it just cracked open. I've never felt I at that point I never felt that before. So like I'm having this epiphany on the way to this party. Like I think I just figured out one of the grandest meanings of life.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I had simultaneously, when I felt that, I also realized I accepted all the good and bad things that had happened in my life to get me to that point where I realized it.
Mm.
So that was,
Right.
this is like a, I don't know if you've ever experienced something like this before.
Not to that extent, like not in that context. I don't think I've ever had a turning point where it just boom cracked open my heart. I've had lots of, I guess, micro doses of that. Like I've had some like really
Yeah.
strong feelings of like contentment and like, wow, I'm very fortunate and being able to reflect back on my life with unconditional love, glimpses of it, but not to that extent of the way that the
Yeah.
way I'm imagining it, not quite to the extent that you've had.
Yeah. So I get to this party and um, it's pretty fun. A lot of cool people. It's gonna be fun. And the next morning, we decided there was a nearby beach, so like a 5 minute drive, and we found this couple that they were just sober people. That's just they were their lifestyle. I'm like, great, you can take us because we were on to do some things. So we get to the beach and we're gonna trip. And so everybody takes mushrooms. And at that time, I'd only done mushrooms once in my life, and
Mm.
I had a really crazy experience, and that wasn't it wasn't the right setting or anything. I wasn't like educated in it. I was just 19 and dumb. Um,
Yeah.
so I took a tab of acid, and we're sitting on the beach and we're just waiting for things to kick. And then there's this one guy out of all the hundreds of people that were like, there was about 200 people, and I'm
Mm.
with about 15 people. And this one guy just does not fit out of everyone.
Mm. Yeah.
Come to find out later, he's bipolar, manic depressed, um, has severe PTSD after doing a tour or something overseas in the military.
Mm. Yeah.
And he's been drinking and he wants to get in with us and we want no part of it because it's just like that energy, we don't want any part of it.
Yeah.
And he's getting really upset by that. And he's kind of like keyed in on me. And all I can think of is well, I'm probably his exact opposite because I am beaming after this experience that I just had on the car ride over. And he mumbles something under his breath like, I can I swear on this thing? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Go for it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's like, yeah, fuck all you guys. You don't want me. I don't give a care. I don't give a shit. I got a gun in the car. I'll just get my gun. I'll go shoot all you. Fuck y'all. And then he walks back and he leaves. And we were like,
Yeah.
did he just say what I think, we all heard that, right? And we're like, yeah, like somebody else is like, should we go? Like somebody else is, no, if we start running, maybe that I agitate him more. He would just start running after everybody and shooting everybody.
Yeah.
And then somebody cracked a joke, and then somebody cracked another joke. And the next thing we know, we're just like, yeah, it's crazy people from New York City all the time. He's just probably saying it'll be fine. This is all happening within the first 20 minutes of
Wow. Yeah.
taking medicines.
Yes.
So a little time passes, and then he starts to walk back. And in that moment, I experienced something that I had never experienced at any time in my life. That feeling happened again in my heart, which was just like, hey, now it's talking. Like it's talking, not with words, but with an emotional based language that I knew better than I could ever understand English. It was perfect language. It was just emotional based. It's
Mm.
like, hey, this is really happening. He really
Mm.
does have a gun. He will shoot you all. You're the only one that can stop him. You can't use violence. You can only use love. Good luck. Oh my God. Like, what was that? Uh, Now he's closer. Everybody's starting to get a little nervous. All of a sudden, I feel incredibly watched. Like, watched like Big Brother. I'm looking around and I'm like, is that FBI out there on the boats?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
are they watching this guy? Are they like, is this like a threat? Why do I feel like I'm so watched? But he's getting closer and there's no more time to think. And so in that moment, I was like, okay, well, I have experienced the grandest experience, which is uh, at that time I phrased it, I love myself. And I love everything that has happened in my life. My life has been a grand journey, all the good and the bad that has ever come of it. This is a very beautiful place. And if my last act is to try to save as many people's lives as I can, then I'm all right with that. And the next thing I know, he's standing above me. And he goes, well, I guess it's got to be like it's got to be. And he does one of those numbers where he reaches, to get what I imagine is gun out of his back belt or something. And I shot up. I stood right up. And in that moment, completely accepted my death. I accepted my death like I knew I was going to die, and I accept that. And it was like time was really doing a weird thing. And I said, wait, stop. Now everybody's like, looking. I know we just met. I know that there is no way for me to know really what you're going through. But I do know this. If you will let it, if you will believe in it, it will get better. And that you're loved, even if you can't feel that right now. Even I love you at in some impossible way, even though we don't know each other or anything. Some part of me loves you too. And it will get better. He looks down and everybody looks down at the ground, looks at me, and he cycles through this like 3 times. And I think this last time, he's like, looks at everybody, looks down at the ground. I'm like, oh shoot, here it comes. He's going to shoot me now for sure. Looks at me and he goes, huh, thanks, man. I really needed to hear that. Oh, okay. So we're cool. He's like, yeah, we're cool. Okay, great. I'm going to hug you now. He's like, okay. And I gave him a hug. And I looked down at everybody, and everybody is just like, looking because this was like a really real moment.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, everyone, it's cool. Why don't we head back now? And everybody's still kind of looking. I'm like, no, like right now. Let's just head back to where the party is, And they're like, oh, okay. And then the guy's like, does anybody want to run? No, we're good. It's cool. And at the same time that happened, the sober people that went for some walk came back and they were like, hey, do you guys want to yeah, we want to head back. Let's go. And I'm like, what is going on? The timing of everything is like crazy. So
Right.
we're starting to walk away, and every step I'm taking, I'm like I can't believe I'm alive. The next step, he's going to shoot me. He's going to change my mind. He's changed his mind. Next step, I can't believe I'm alive. Next step, oh my God, he's going to change his mind and shoot me, But eventually we get to the car. I get in the car and I'm like, holy shit, I'm going to live. And it was at that moment that the acid kicked in hard,
Yeah. Yeah.
really hard. because whatever I did with my energy to handle that,
So yeah.
the pendulum swung the other way hard.
Right.
So I look out at the world and I watch it just disintegrate, like just like the Matrix, quite literally
Yeah.
like the Matrix. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, oh dear. So somehow we get back and I get from the car into my tent. And the moment I get into my tent, I experienced my first ego death. Now, I've never, there is another experience that I've had, but I will tell you about this one and then I'll jump back in time. So my ego dies and I'm in a place and I don't know this place, but it's a place of math. I learned later on, I didn't know about what sacred geometry was.
Mm.
I didn't look into it. Yeah. So I learned that that was Metatron's cube and in it. Uh, and there were these entities that were there. I couldn't see them, but I knew that they were there. And each
Mm.
one of them represented a kind of uh, some type of archetype, like of us. And they were like, oh, what you've done was beautiful. You don't understand, you can't believe what you've done. It's going to change the lives of so many people. It's going to, you just, it's such a beautiful thing what you've done. And we're going to, we're going to do some things now and it's okay. Just try to relax through it because a part of me felt like I could just break out of this whole thing and they're like no, don't do that, don't do that. You actually agreed to this, it's okay, just kind of allow what's happening to happen. And then it felt like they were calibrating me. It literally felt like they were tuning me. And at the same time that was happening, somebody was had medicine bowls that they were ringing and I didn't know that that was going on because I'm in this other dimension.
Yeah.
And that had an effect.
Yes.
And I came out of it and I'm back, except I'm questioning which reality I'm actually back in
Mm.
because it was such a profound experience. Uh, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure of anything now. And I was talking to my friends and I'm like, is this, are you real? Is this the same reality? They're like, yeah, man, it's cool. They understood. I was, well deep into a trip. But my intuitiveness, that empathic ability that I had all my life, but kind of struggled with, because I could just feel other people's feelings, like my own. Like I could just feel it very intensely, more than anybody that I had ever talked to about it. They
Mm.
were like, yeah, no, I don't feel it like that. That part got ramped up like 3,000% or something. I would meet people and I was like, look, I just had this crazy trip and I'm having this experience, but do you mind if I tell you what I'm feeling off of you? And they're like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, well, and I would be like, hey, look, you're a very caring person. I have a feeling you were raised by your mom and that had a very significant impact in your life. And everything that you try to do is to try to, improve your family's lives or something like that. And like people just started crying because everything I was saying was very accurate. Like I was seeing them
Yeah.
very, very intimately. And this
Sure.
was, I don't think, what is going on? This is like really crazy, but really beautiful, but really crazy. And everything that happened in that trip, that experience, I remembered everything of it like very vividly. And I also knew that that was a gift. Now I'm going to go back in time. The reason why I knew that that was a real experience, not just because I took something and I hallucinated or I had a psychedelic experience.
Yes.
My first near-death experience happened when I was I think it was like fifth grade. I used to be a swimmer. I was a star little swimmer. And after swim practice one day, Uh, there used to be these basketball nets on the shallow end of the pool. You could play water basketball.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So I thought it'd be really cool to take the basketball, run off the deck, jump, and slam dunk it as I, fell
Of
into the water.
course. Good move.
I mean, who wouldn't want to do that?
Clearly.
And as I was about to jump in the pool, the coach screamed out my name in a kind of urgency, like, Jordan. And it startled me hard. I'm like, oh, shit, there was the vacuum in the pool. Will I get electrocuted? I don't know. Should I stop? So I hit the brakes really hard and I slipped and I watched as my feet just went up that way and my head went backwards and I cracked my head on the gutter of the pool. Like, it was like a concrete gutter.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I went from my life and everything to none of that.
Hmm.
I just was instantly this awareness that was in, again, I didn't know what sacred geometry was. I didn't learn about sacred geometry until later. But I was in the flower of life, and it was it was all very beautiful. Like everything had this perfect, beautiful ring, and the part of that made the construction of the flower of life, it was like a light glowingness ring, but all of it was this beautiful ring. I felt wonderful. This was a wonderful experience. And I had no recollection of how I got there. It just, it just, I was always here, always. That's what it felt like. I always am here.
Hmm.
And then a novel experience happened. I had a thought, which was very different from just being.
Yeah.
And the and then the thought came in, and the thought was just like, how did I get here? And then shoom, I was back.
Wow.
Except now I'm in my body and I'm laying on the deck of the pool. During all this time, somebody pulled me out of the pool and I am paralyzed. I can't move and I can't breathe and I feel that feeling like I haven't been breathing for a long time because the burning sensation, if you've
Mm-hmm.
ever struggled to get breath after a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was at the max of that. So all of a sudden I'm like, wait, did did I just eh, did I just die? I'm dying now. Why why am I back? That was a beautiful experience. And this is hell. This is awful. This is like the worst experience ever. It's just horrible pain and burning. And at that point, I couldn't even think any more thoughts. I needed to breathe right now, or I'm done. And I just was screaming in my head, and everybody's standing around. But I'm just like, and I'm saying, please, 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 not to anyone or anything, just outwardly, please, 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 let me live. Let me live. Please let me live. If you let me live, I will live to the fullest extent I can in my life. I will live it to the max. Please, please, please let me live. And at that moment, I could breathe. It was like the most amazing breath I've ever taken ever. Like, oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I will live. Oh, thank you, thank you. And then I tried to move, and it hurt so bad. It was as if somebody took a live wire and just stuck it in the back of my neck and it just electrocuted my nervous system. It was like horrible. And I'm like, no, 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 please, please don't let me live like this. Don't let me be paralyzed. In an instant, I understood that my body was a real gift.
Mm.
It was not just it wasn't just that it was a body. It was a gift. And I'm like, please let me move. Let me be able to do everything. I will use this body. I will be athletic. I will experience life well with it. Like please let me move. Let me live like this. And just like that, I can move. And oh, And then I like started to get up and I'm sitting in a pool of my own blood. And it's just everybody was just standing around me with like freaking out in their eyes. And also kind of like I could sense they were a little like, what did this kid do? You know, mess himself up, you know. uh, I didn't know how to handle that. I didn't know how to integrate that at all. I just knew that nobody would believe me.
Mm,
They would say, "Oh, you just hit your head. Oh, that was your imagination. You have a very vivid imagination."
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, or it was just the way that your mind tried to make sense of whatever that happened.
Totally.
But I knew that was real. And I felt such shame for causing it, like like as if I am the one that caused the accident.
Right.
So I didn't tell anybody. But when I had that other experience at the beach and in the tent, I felt that experience too from when I was a
Mm,
child. And I'm like, oh my God, that's real.
right.
That's what this is. These psychedelics is another tool to get us to that. It's just another avenue. But the truth is that is us. And
Mm.
but I still didn't make that connection quite all the way. I just knew that that was real. After this, how are we doing so far? Are we,
Excellent,
is this
man.
okay?
Completely riveting. Yeah, yeah. I'm just, your flow was great. I don't want to, pop in and summarize where it's not needed. So it's,
Okay,
dude,
okay,
riveting stuff. It's amazing. Keep going.
okay. After that, I come back home and, my B&B is, functioning at full force, but at noon, I'm done with the day. Like I stopped taxiing a while ago and I got my rental property, I got my bed and breakfast is flowing. Ah, except I've got this racked nervous system because for the mm, 8 months or so, 8 or 9 months of trying to make this bed and breakfast open and going through all of the obstacles and the time constraints and the money and the whole thing. Um, my nervous system's just like, okay, what are we doing now? Because we got like a gazillion things we could do with this energy and we're not doing it. And I can feel a massive panic attack coming on.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, oh, if I know if I go to talk therapy, it's only going to go so deep. I've done therapy when I was a kid.
Mm.
I had like ADD
Okay.
when I was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they didn't know what to do with that. So they took me to child psychologist, which was actually really wonderful. Um, and then try to, put Ritalin and drugs into me, and that didn't help at all. I mean,
Right.
it did. It made me like completely emotionless and
Right.
not there, but at least I could focus. But I hated it, and so I secretly kind of stopped taking it
Yeah.
and just
Gotcha.
forced myself to learn how to fit in
Mm.
and how to not be all over the place, even though it was very much against my nature. It's just there's all this. It's the spiritual journey and the healing journey are one and the same.
Yeah.
They're one and
Right.
the same.
Right.
But anyway, I knew that that would only work so well, and I knew they would prescribe some kind of medication. And I've looked at everybody that's been on antidepressants, and never did I ever see that that actually worked. So I was like, okay, I do know one thing that could. I'll meditate.
Mm.
And so being minutes away from Niagara Falls and the Niagara Gorge, I would go to the gorge right after I was done with my guests. They would all leave. Same thing would happen. I'd feel this surge. Um, I'd make a beeline to the gorge, and I just sit there and meditate until I calm down.
Mm.
And then I would go back out into the world. But if it ever started coming up, that anxious, nervous thing, I'd stop what I was doing and I would meditate however long it took till I felt better. And after about 3 months of that, I finally normalized. I felt like me, kind of like all the time.
Right.
But in that, it, I started kind of having mystical experiences like you would if you were taking psychedelics.
Hmm.
And I thought, this is interesting. Huh. And then the messages came in clear, like, you should become debt free. At that time, I had about $400,000 of debt.
Okay.
And
Good suggestion.
yeah, yeah. And everybody kept telling me, no, this is good debt. You have good debt. You have business debt. You have school loans. It's like, this is all normal debt. And I'm like, I feel horrible. This does not feel good to me.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get out of debt. How can I do that? Huh, I like driving. I've always thought about truck driving. I'm going to be a
Ah.
truck driver. I'm going to automate everything somehow, and I'm going to be a truck driver. And I did just that.
Hmm.
And after I got used to driving the truck, you know, about 3 or 6, somewhere in between 3 or 6 months, I got comfortable with it. And I found it highly meditative,
Really?
highly meditative.
Interesting. Huh.
So while I'm driving it, I just started meditating all the
Interesting.
time.
Huh.
Can you imagine this? Imagine leaving, because truck driving, you're just kind of gone.
Sure.
So I left all my family and friends to be by myself. And the bulk of what I did was meditated.
I do have one question about that because if when I meditate, I tend to get to the point of in and out of sleep at times. So if
Yeah.
I were to meditate behind the wheel, as it is, I kind of have that highway thing where I gotta do like the, you know what I mean?
Yep.
When I'm listening to podcasts or whatever else, it would be, how were you able to stay, you know what I mean, in that level where you were engaged enough to still be safe behind the wheel, but also have a meditative experience?
This is one of those things where you can't compare your life with anybody else's life.
Sure.
You can't what calls to you and your ability to do that. Some of it will be similar to others, you know.
Mhm.
Uh, some of it won't at all. I found it like I could be hyper focused and hyper meditative, just hyper present,
Hmm.
like the most present, and that included being able to drive the truck. It it's not something I would recommend to anybody, but
Sure.
I'd imagine that there are a lot of truck drivers that do find it very relaxing or
Yeah.
meditative. But
Yeah.
for me, I just could, and I would get in these profound states. So this one this one night, I'm taking a load from Niagara through Ohio. I'm heading to Detroit. It's and through Ohio in the 90s, this long stretch, hours straight, very boring. Hash line, white line, go. And I drop in, and it was the longest consistent meditation I've ever done. I just was for hours, just boom. I I I didn't want to come out of it at all. But at the end, there was an exit, and I'm gonna need more of my faculties.
Yeah.
Um, okay, and there would be a toll and all that kind of thing. And just as I was about to come out of it to negotiate what I had to do, this it was like a flash message. It just DMT. And then I came out of it. And I'm like, DMT? What was that? Like, what did that have to do with anything? Because I was having kind of like a thoughtless thing going on. And now all of a sudden there was just this very clear DMT, you know? And I'm like, whoa, I haven't even thought about that in 12 years. I mean, I remember, I think I heard about it, but I heard it was this really intense psychedelic, like the most intense psychedelic. And I had a thought to myself at that time, like, you should probably, get your affairs in much better order before you do something like that,
Yeah.
mentally at least, or whatever. And from that point to the point that I would take it, I sensed the point in which I would take it.
Hmm.
I, I felt it out there in the future, kind of like a convergence point.
Mm.
And for the next 3 months, I was just researching everything and anything about DMT. Joe Rogan, the whole thing. And I felt this like what happens in a flower of life symbol, like those uh what is that called? I can't remember, but it's the shape, and it looks like that from one
Okay.
point to another, like
Yeah.
an oval looking thing. And that's exactly what that felt like. And I was getting closer and closer and closer to the moment that it would happen. And when does it happen? When I go to Electric Forest at another festival.
There we go.
I woke up the day that it was going to happen. I had to go to the bathroom and I had to get out of the tent. You got to walk to where all the urinals, the Johnny on the spots are. And on the walk, this again, it was this perfect emotionally based language that I
Mm.
understood with a kind of clarity. Just goes, today. Ooh, today? Yes, today. And it will be with this person, and it will happen today.
Wow.
Can it be tomorrow? Nope, today. I'm like, not after my blueberry pancakes.
Yeah.
So after breakfast, I come back. We're in a group tent set situation, and I came to another section to where these other friends are. The friend that told me, and I walk over, and he sees me. He's like, "Yo, Jordan, hey, what's up? I heard that you would like to try DMT, and look what I have." And I'm like,
Unreal.
"Oh my God!"
Yeah.
Like,
Right?
"Oh my
Yeah.
God!" So sit down, we get situated, and here we go. I know the rules. 3 deep inhales, hold as long as you can. Let's go. Take my first hit, hold it, exhale, and immediately bonkers. Like it's NDMT, so it's the visual one.
Mm.
Um,
Hmm.
I'm tripping hard already. Couldn't believe how hard this is. This is active already off of, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in particularly, there's a ring coming from one of my lower chakras, and I thought, what's that? Take my second hit, come out even more bonkers, but the ring has moved up into my heart, and I intuitively knew, oh, I gotta get it. I gotta get the ring up. Take my third hit. The ring is here now. Oh, but I knew I had to get it out. Take another hit. And that third hit I did not want to take. So take the fourth hit. Now the top one. Ring. It's ringing. It's out of me. Ring. All right, I did it. Great, great. And I'm looking around, and I'm sitting in a tent on like a bed, and all of my friends are outside, just like staring. And then the guy is like sitting next to me, just being cool, holding space. And I look at the sky, and when you look at the sky, it just goes. But I look at the sky, and it starts taking on a form,
Hmm.
like as if where a ceiling would meet a wall, like it
Okay.
it became dimensional.
Hmm.
And then there is this Aztec-looking thing that was following along the line of the dimension. And I'm starting to look at that like, wait a minute, this looks so fake. Like I'm starting to look at reality, the reality that I've always known as this isn't quite as real as I thought it was at all. I look at everybody that's watching me, and they like stretch away, like one of those horror movies in the hallway of a hotel. Like that's what happened. They stretched away, and I'm like, okay. In the meantime, ring is happening, and you know when your arm falls asleep, pins and
Yes.
needles.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
times a million, just times a million all over me and ringing. And it's the same ring as the ring that's happening in me, is the same ring as the ring is happening outside of me. And I'm
Mm,
starting to have a problem with that because I am starting to feel like I can't make the distinction between outside of me feeling and the inside of me feeling because this ring is
gotcha.
starting to synchronize at such a
Yeah,
level
yeah.
that it's dissolving everything.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, oh shit, what did I do? This I am way on like I am I have passed my comfort zone so long ago.
Right.
I am way out there on the deep end. I don't know what's going to happen next, and I'm struggling with it. And at that moment, right, um, there that voice that a voice happened again, and it says, "Hey, hey, take a look at the right. Take a look at the right." Okay, so I look at the right of the tent, and staring at me, real as you and I are real, real as anything that you have ever considered to be real, like another person real, is the Buddha face, is this Buddha entity, alien looking face, but it's real. There's nothing about any of my imagination that could make something appear that real. And it's just beaming into my heart. Your love, 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 love beyond measure, love, love, love. You love beyond measure. And I am like, oh, at this point, now I now know that this reality isn't real, as real as I thought it was. Uh, I am well beyond my realm of comfort. I am ringing all over the place. There is an entity. So now I know that there is life beyond that in which we know of. It's a it's a not just any kind of thing. It's something that like religions and sci-fi movies are have in it and all of that kind of stuff. And it's here and it's talking to me with an emotional based language and it's seeing it's so intimate at how deep it's penetrating me and I am awestruck, I am terrified, not because it's scary, because it's so awesome.
Right. Yeah.
And I need a moment to collect myself. So I want to look away. And so I look, I doubt, it's not something I thought of doing. I just instinctively looked up above the
Mm.
head.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and you know, you could see in the peripheral, nothing was there. But for somehow it like knew I was going to do that. And in some kind of time space warpy thing, when my eyes landed on the spot, it was as if the face doubled and it was already there. It doubled. And now I got two faces going. Your love, love, love beyond measure, like love beyond compare. Oh my God. I look down, a third face. Now there's three faces doing it. Like I am I am blown away. This freaking ringing thing is out of control. Then it says, look at the grass. Okay, good. I need a break, but I know I'm not going to get one.
Yeah.
I look at the grass.
Yeah.
Millions of this face. Millions
Wow.
of this face in different shapes and sizes, look in different ways and directions, and all somehow simultaneously at me, and all simultaneously saying, "Love, you love, love beyond measure, love beyond
Wow.
compare." Fuck.
Yeah.
One blade of grass comes up like some kind of cartoony thing, and just comes to me with this face, and passes the comfort zone. No, thank you. I
Yeah.
close my eyes.
Yeah.
The face is still there. The ringing has gotten to a point, and I realize I'm about to die now. Like, I've really done it this time. Oh shit, you killed yourself. This is happening. And at that moment, a giant triangle filled up my entire field of vision, even though my eyes are closed.
Right.
It's just this perfect, perfect, most beautiful, perfect triangle ever. And it berserked at me. And now I'm going to have my last thought, which is, this is it. I'm going to die now. I thought, will it hurt? At that
Mm.
moment, the face was like, hey, no, now, it's now, right here, right now. Don't distract yourself. Don't, none of this all over the place. Don't fear, nothing. Just right here, right now, right here, right now. Your love, love, love beyond measure. And I knew that this part was the choice of choices. It's a choice.
Mm.
I could have resisted this consistently, but I didn't. I made a choice. I said, okay, I believe you. I love you. I surrender. I
Mm.
choose to surrender. And when I mean I surrender everything I knew that to be Jordan, everything I knew about my reality, all the people I knew, loved, all the information and things that I've learned, the molecules that hold up that corner of this fingernail. I surrender completely everything. And at that moment, the giant triangle, like, dinged, like, you chose wisely, ding.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
I went from my perspective being up here in my head, like we all see, like we're up here. This is where I see, and this is where I hear, and this is where I have my perspective of life. My body and that perspective, just everything went away completely. I dropped down to my heart space and I warp speed through a tunnel of triangles, like all through this tunnel at like crazy speed, and shoom, I'm in some heavenly realm. This perfect light heavenly place. It's got that a ring, but it is like at a level like I don't even think the original, that first near death experience ever compared to this. I felt like it was beautiful. I was a an ecstatic ecstasy, ecstatic love, and that
Mm.
is not even enough of a descriptor of what I was feeling. It was beyond any that love feeling I've ever felt, ever. And I'm looking around and I'm kind of getting an idea of this place, and I can tell that some stuff over here was like another dimension, and it had a ring, and all of this ring was me. And I'm like, oh my God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, I've been here before. Oh, I have been here before. I know this place. I've been here before. I know this place. Oh God, oh God, oh, oh, God, I am,
Mm.
I am. And at that moment, this like light, this emanating ball of light just was right there. And I need to go in there. I need to be one with it. And I like join into the center of it. And then the perspective of having an experience went away, and I became one with all. And I was whole. And I was the most whatever ecstatic love I was before, this was even more than that. More than anything ever. I was I was all. I was infinitely all, and all was me. It was no separation of any kind. I was infinite, and I'm here. as soon as it was just so understood in my beingness, I was just being, it was time to go.
Hmm.
I didn't want to go. I did not want to go. Next thing I know, I'm going backwards through that tunnel of triangles again,
Triangles, yeah.
which was actually Sri Yantra. I went in through Sri Yantra, and at the center of it was all, which was me. And as I'm getting back towards the big triangle that I first went through, I started to remember Jordan. Like, oh, Jordan. Oh, I love that guy. Oh, I love that guy so much. I made that guy. Oh my God. I love that guy so much. I made him, and I made all of reality, all of reality, all of existence, just so he could live in it. And show, I was back in my body, sober as can be, and I knew the truth. This is everyone. We're all this. We're all this one awareness fractaling itself out into everything. And all of creation is the same. It's all us. And as intimate and as personal, I mean this when take it very personally, that everything was made just for you. And the only reason why it feels like a paradox is because we have this density of experience is being funneled through this aspect we call an ego, which does separation, and in this mind body complex we can have this be this and that be that, and so it seems paradoxical when I say that everything was made just for you, but it is this same for everyone. It's like everyone is the same center point, and we are all one, literally. It's not an empathetic like, oh, this cute, we're all one.
Yeah, yeah.
We are literally all one, and it is the and that is the enlightenment or enlightening experience. So now my every day, my every single waking or sleeping moment, it is not I'm not unaware. I am completely aware that this is me. Like I'm talking to myself right now.
Yeah, gotcha.
And it's the same. I I I know who you are beyond the personality. I know who you are. I know where you are in your journey without even having to know much. I know it. I can feel it already. I know where everybody is on their journey, and I know who is more realized of that too. When I see them or I hear them speak, or when I read it in a book or a philosophy or somebody that made up or like a Jesus or a Buddha or a Lao-Tzu or anything like that, I know. I know as they know. I know. And that makes for a very different life experience.
I can only imagine.
Yes.
Dude, thanks for oh man. Uh yeah, that's why I just let you have the reins because there's nothing I can say really that would have enhanced it or just felt distractionary at that point. What an amazing story. Thanks for sharing that and just being so honest and descriptive. And you're a gifted storyteller. With your the natural pauses and things. It was very riveting to listen to. Honestly, I could see us doing a part two. Would you be open to coming back on, and we could unpack some
Yeah.
of the experiences? Because there's at this point,
Anything you want. Sure. Yeah.
I feel like I can't necessarily. I'm not at the stage that I
It's
can
a lot
add
of
anything,
information.
right?
Yeah.
So I would love to help you unpack that. Plus, to kind of tie everything up here, how we met was through the Kyle Cease community, and Kyle Cease's call is underway as of I guess right now or close to it, and I'm looking to hop on there. So, to bring it full circle to how we met, the Kyle Cease thing, I'm gonna be hopping on
Yes.
there. I'm assuming, what's your plans for the day? Are you heading back out in the village and meeting and talking with some folks, or what's on your big plans for today?
Yeah, fortunately, I have a good friend that's here as well. That
Nice,
she got
nice.
here a few weeks before me, and we're gonna do all kinds of fun stuff.
That's awesome, dude. Man, so grateful for you to come in on the show, sharing all your experiences. I would love to. I was scribbling down some notes at the beginning, and then after that, I was just soaking it all in. There's so many like different avenues that we can go on, and so many different paths we can go. So I would love to have you back
Yes.
on for a part two. I'll do
Yeah.
a follow up with you as far as that goes. But dude, thank you so much for coming on. Amazing
Yeah.
stuff. Like really
Thank you for
amazing.
having me. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Jordan. Really a pleasure meeting you, and we'll talk to you sooner than later, I'm sure.
Okay, cool.